Welcome back to Wealth Wednesdays. My name is Janine Rogan and I am the CEO of the Wealth Building Academy, and today we're going to be talking about generational wealth. Now, generational wealth is a term that's been getting a lot of attention lately, and all generational wealth is wealth that a family is born into or an individual is born into, so they inherited a lot of money. Now, I'm not here to trash people that have generational wealth or were born into money, but I do think it's important to acknowledge your privilege if that is something that has happened to you. When we look at the statistics, it is really bleak for the middle class. Only about 20% of the individuals in the US hold over 80% of the wealth. So this means the top 20% holds over 80% of the wealth, which continues to drive wealth inequality in the US and in Canada. In a lot of situations, these individuals own hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars, and this is something we refer to as wealth hoarding. Wealth hoarding is excessive acquisition of assets, so whether that be homes or investment properties, or just keeping that money in the stock market. I know people like to say trickle-down economics does work, but in fact, we can see from wealth hoarding that this is actually not the case. There is no way someone with $1 billion is ever going to be able to spend enough money for it to all trickle down into the economy. In Canada, there is actually no inheritance tax, which means large inheritances can be passed down tax-free to individuals within their family. Now, this isn't to be confused with final estate returns. That is a topic for a different day. These mechanisms that allow people to pass on tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars are very complex and usually require a lot of tax planning and a tax professional to help you achieve this. In the US, there is an inheritance tax starting at 18%, and it actually increases to about 40% if your estate is over $1 million. However, there are exemptions in the US tax code that allow you to pass on almost $11 million in estate money to the next generation without paying a cent to the government. Now, if you're wondering why this is a problem, the issues are societal and complex, but ultimately when we look at this and we don't see money moving into the economy, it is just accumulating at the top 20% of individuals, and it stays there without being spent. This is problematic when we don't have proper healthcare or proper education, and we have people that are hungry in our countries, both in Canada and the US. I live in Alberta, and we are considered one of the wealthiest provinces across the entire country, and we actually have the highest level of food insecurity. So to me, that means people with the most money are just holding on to it, and it isn't actually getting circulated to those who need it most. Generational wealth can be problematic on a number of different levels, but ultimately the wealth hoarding really ends up diminishing the middle class and just making the upper quartile of people and the lower quartile of people move farther and farther apart with their wealth. At the end of the day, we want everyone in Canada and the US to be paying their fair share of taxes, and that means that if you have multiple millions of dollars that you're inheriting, some of that should probably be going to taxes to fund programs like food insecurity and ensuring that children are actually being fed and don't have 40 kids in their classroom. The last thing I want to touch on is that when we talk about wealth hoarding and generational wealth, we really are talking about the people who have over $10 million, which does not apply to very many people probably watching this YouTube video. So don't mistake this as if you are inheriting a few $100,000 from a parent when they pass away, that I'm saying that the government should come after that, because I do believe that passing on some legacy to your children is important, but I do think that there should be a cap to that. And ultimately, I think in these situations, we need to make sure that taxes are in fact being paid on these estates. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. If you have any questions or comments about generational wealth, you can pop them in the comments section below, and I will see you next week.